Implementing the Socratic Method in high school. To effectively use the Socratic Method in high school, teachers should consider the following strategies. Some strategies include choose thought-provoking topics, prepare open-ended questions, create a safe and respectful environment, encourage student-led dialogue, use Socratic seminars, encourage reflection and self-assessment, adapt the method across subjects, and finally, let's just take a time to look at each of these in more detail. Choosing thought-provoking topics. For example, in a history class, you may start with a topic with the question, what were the main causes of World War I and could it have been prevented? Let's look at the application. You want to select topics that are relevant to the curriculum and encourage deep thinking. So these topics should be open to interpretation and invite multiple perspectives. An example of this, we really want to use a question for math like what's 2 plus 2. That's not going to be very useful in a Socratic method. But in subjects like literature, history, science, or even philosophy, we can look for themes or issues that naturally lend themselves to debate and to inquiry. Prepare your open-ended questions. For example, in a literature class, if you're studying To Kill a Mockingbird, you might ask, how does Harper Lee use the character of Atticus Finch to explore the themes of justice and morality? Application. Develop a series of open-ended questions that encourage your students to think critically and explore different aspects of the topic. These questions should not have a single correct answer, but rather invite people to really consider varying viewpoints. They need to justify their reasoning. Be prepared to ask follow-up questions that dig deeper into students' responses. Create a safe and respectful environment. For example, at the start of a discussion, always remind everyone that there is of great importance to be respectful. They need to listen and provide constructive feedback. You may want to say, let's remember that everyone's opinion is valuable, and it's okay to disagree as long as we do it respectfully. Application. Establish clear guidelines for discussion. Make sure that everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas. You want to encourage active listening, respect for differing opinions, and a constructive debate. Make it clear that the goal is not to win an argument, but to explore ideas and learn from each other. Encourage student-led dialogue. During the Socratic method, make sure that you step back and allow your students to lead the discussion. You should intervene only when to ask guiding questions or to keep the conversation on track. Application. Give the students the responsibility to drive the discussion. Socratic method really is a student-led approach. You need to encourage them to ask questions of each other, to challenge each other, challenge ideas, and build on each other's contributions. This fosters a sense of ownership and engagement, as students are not simply responding to the teacher, but they actively participate in the learning process. Use Socratic seminars. For example, in a civics class, you can hold a seminar on the topic of freedom of speech by asking questions like, what are the limits of the freedom of speech? And how should society balance this right with the need to protect individuals from harm? How to apply. A Socratic seminar is a formal group of discussion that's based upon a specific text, question, or topic. Students are going to prepare by reading and researching the material in advance. Then they're going to engage in a structured dialogue where they can discuss the topic at depth. The teacher's role is to facilitate the conversation by asking probing questions and ensure that all students have an opportunity to contribute. Encourage reflection and self-assessment. For example, after a discussion, ask the students to reflect in their journals on questions such as, how did today's discussion change or reinforce your understanding of topic? Application. Encourage the students to reflect on the discussion process and their own contributions. You may want to ask them to consider what they learned, how their thinking has evolved, and you might also ask what they might do differently for future discussions. Reflection helps to internalize the learning and recognize the value of the Socratic method in their intellectual development. Adapt this method across different subjects. For example, in a science class, you could ask, what are the ethical implications of genetic engineering, and how should society regulate this technology? Make sure that you come prepared beforehand for some great questions that are going to generate some really good discussions. So how can you apply this? The Socratic method can be adapted for use in virtually any subject. In science, it can be used to explore ethical dilemmas or even scientific discoveries. In mathematics, it can be used to explore different problem-solving strategies or the reasoning behind mathematical concepts. And in the arts, it can be used to discuss interpretations of a work or of art or the role of creativity in society. The options are endless. Implementing the Socratic method in high school enriches a classroom. It's going to build discussions, enhance critical thinking, and foster a deeper understanding of complex concepts.